Look at this, a fine gentleman is trending on Twitter. What's going on here with Gary Gensler, head of the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission? He tweeted, "If Satoshi Nakamoto went as Satoshi Nakamoto for Halloween, would we be able to tell happy 15th anniversary to Satoshi's famous white paper that started crypto? Happy birthday, Bitcoin white paper, 15 years it has been." Those are the words by the guy who always blocks the approval of the Bitcoin spot ETF. Gary Gensler's social media presence gets completely defined by what's happening around Bitcoin. Just look at the engagement of different tweets. This tweet got 20.1 million impressions. The recent one, more generic, only 52,000. The one before that, 57,000, 87,000, 57,000, etc. This is a 40x in engagement roughly. People are really just interested in what Gary Gensler says about Bitcoin. Now, a lot of people are buying Bitcoin now in anticipation of that spot Bitcoin ETF approval. But it might be in the end that this is a buy the rumor, sell the news thing, right? When it comes out that the Bitcoin ETF is being approved, maybe the price, at least temporarily, will crash for a bit. Short-term speculative money that simply just wants to ride those waves might get out and look for the next opportunity. The Bitcoin ETF approval really isn't that essential. It simply just accelerates a trend that's already ongoing anyways. There was Bitcoin ETF talks already in 2016, 17, 18. You can look up the news during that time. And still, Bitcoin was able to reach 20K, then 40K, then 69K, now it's down again. But still, Bitcoin rises over the long term because it inflates less than fiat. It's the hardest of the monies. Bitcoin is the only asset that's 100% demand inelastic. Now, if you don't know what price and demand elasticity means, let me show you. So this is the basics of economics. The price is determined by demand and supply. The more supply there is, the lower the price is, given that demand is stable. Now we can show this in a graph. We can put on the y-axis the price and on the x-axis the quantity. Then we've got a supply graph and a demand graph. Now, as the quantity of demand increases, right, the demand curve shifts to the right, the price goes up. We can see this in this chart. We can also see this in this chart, right? D1 to D2, it moves to the right. P1 to P2, the price goes up. The price goes up more here because the supply line is steeper. The steeper the supply line is, the more the price changes as demand changes. Now, what does the steepness of that supply line mean? It means that the more somebody can pay for a good, the more can be put on the market, the more can be produced. Let's take, for example, oil. As the oil price doubles, because there's so much demand in the economy, people want to drive around their cars and want to fly, etc. As demand for oil increases, the price goes up. More supply will hit the market because the price of oil is now up, and so it's worth to dig for even harder oil sources. You will open up new facilities, you will invest in maintenance of existing facilities, you will make sure that there will be more oil because it's profitable to make more oil. Now, in Bitcoin, the supply is hard-coded with the halvening. You cannot produce more Bitcoin just because the price went up. So this S-curve for Bitcoin is completely vertical. If the supply line was horizontal, it would mean that you can always serve whatever demand there is, the price will not change. It's a commodity that's super easy to source. But if the supply is vertical, it means it's impossible, independent of price, to get more, to produce more of that thing. And there are very, very few things where this is true. This is maybe true for, say, beachfront property, because the beach line is only that long. It's maybe true for very rare art, But even there, one could argue that there might be replacements, right? You could potentially use simply just not the Picasso, but maybe the Monet. But for Bitcoin, there really isn't any replacement. There had been so many attempts to try to just copy Bitcoin, but it all pretty much failed. Only Bitcoin appreciates at the rate that it does. Any other cryptocurrency is very different in its risk profile and might very well get replaced at some point. There's all kinds of competition. What's the next layer 1 smart contract platform? There isn't that much competition for the next Bitcoin. Gary Gensler knows this as well. And at some point, he will approve the ETF. And if it's not him, it will be the person that comes after him that's maybe Republican. Because currently there are more Democratic than Republican chairmen in the SEC. And the Republican ones had been very open to say that they would be approving an ETF. Let's continue saving in Bitcoin. Let's be on this journey together and join our Telegram. The link is down below.